Today's lesson is Module 2, Lesson 13, Dividing Multi-Digit Numbers Using the Algorithm. Today's objective is to understand that the standard algorithm of division is simply a tally system arranged in place value columns. So today we will be focusing on solving those algorithms. The first thing I want to review with you today is understanding the placement of numbers and the math vocabulary. So we were set up using the standard algorithm. The divisor is the number that's outside of the box. The dividend is the number that we are dividing, which is inside the box, and our quotient is our answer. If you were looking at it written as a statement, it would be the dividend divided by the divisor, which is the same as the quotient. So go ahead and take a couple seconds and write that in your notebook. You can pause it right here if you need a minute. Okay, the next thing I would like for you to do is to copy this problem into your notebook. And you will notice here that I have also made a chart where I'm going to first be filling out and keeping record of my multiplication facts for 12 because 12 is my divisor. You're always going to write out the multiplication facts for your divisor. So I know that 1 times 12 is 12, 2 times 12 is 24, 3 times 12 is 36, 4 times 12 is 48, 5 times 12 is 60, 6 times 12 is 72, 7 times 12 is 84, 8 times 12 is 96, and 9 times 12 is 108. Okay. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to see how many 12s are in 4,272. Just like I had told you in our objective, we're using place value columns. So I have two numbers here, so I'm going to start with two numbers here. So I'm going to look for an answer over here that is close to 42 without going over. And I can see that 36 doesn't go over 42. So I'm going to use that 3. Because I'm looking at the number 42, my 3 is going to go above my last place that I use. And 3 times 12 is 36. I subtract that. Make this a 12, make this a 3. 6 from 12 is 6. 3 minus 3 is 0, and I'm not going to worry about writing that 0 there. I bring down my 7. So now I'm going to look for an answer over here in my answer column that's close to 67 without going over. I can see that number 60 there, and its partner is 5. I write that above the number that I just pulled down, and 12 times 5 is 60. I subtract, bring down my 2, so now I have 72. Again, I can see that 72 over here in my answer column. Its partner is 6. So I write that as my final answer at the top, and 6 times 12 is 72. I subtract, get my final answer of 0. So how many 12s are in 4,276? There are 356 12s in that dividend. So this becomes my quotient. This is my answer. Now, if you'll go ahead and take a moment and take out your student book, we are going to go on to lesson 13 in our student book. It starts on page 55. And the very first thing it wants us to do in example 1 under classwork is they want us to estimate, which is what we did in lesson 12. So when I write it as an algorithm first, 19 is my divisor and 70,072 is my dividend. I'm going to estimate my 19 as being close to 20, and my 70,072 is close to 70,000. I know I can get rid of those tens. So now I'm going to think, how many 2's are in 70? There are 35 2's in 70, and then I just re-add back in those 2 zeros. So my estimate is 3,500. That's what I'm estimating my answer to be. Now, the next thing that they want you to do, you will notice that this is just a little bit different from what I have shown you. I have shown you a T-chart, and Eureka is asking that you actually write out the multiples in this fashion. Now, I don't care if you prefer this method. If it makes more sense to you, that's fine. If you like the chart that I made for you where we put our divisor here and then we make our T-chart, it's up to you. I'm going to go ahead and write out both, and you're welcome to write out both, but it's not necessary. Remember that if you need to use your calculator for these problems, you are welcome to do that. It doesn't matter if you need to use your calculator for that. You will not be able to use your calculator on the long division. You will need to reference these charts in order to show all of your work for the long division. Okay, so the next step that we have to do is we have to go on to part C, and our part C wants us to use this chart that we just made. It says use the algorithm to divide 70,072 by 19 and check your work. So this is the chart. This is my problem. I know it's not very easy for you to see, but in order for me to have both of them on the screen, I had to zoom out a little bit. Let me see if I can fix this so that you might be able to see it a little more clearly. There we go. Okay, so I know that I can use at least the first 2 digits here. So I'm going to look on my chart for a number that's close to 70 without going over 70. And I see that I have 57 here and its partner is 3. So I write a 3 above the 0 and I write my 57 here. I subtract. Follow your regular algorithm rules for your subtraction. So I have to get 10 from my from my tens place here for 7. So I'm going to regroup that. I know that this was a good answer because my answer here is smaller than my divisor. So now I bring down my 0. And then I look back over here in my chart. I'm going to look for an answer that's close to 130. Oops, I made a mistake on my chart. I'm going to look for an answer that's close to 130 without going over. So that's 114 and its partner is 6. So 6 times 19 is 114. Subtract. Bring down my 7. And how many 19s can go into 167? Again, I go to my chart. I see that 152 is close to 167 without going over, and its partner is 8. So 8 19s is 152. I subtract. Bring down my 2. How many 19s are in 152? We've discovered that that was 8. And I know that I'm finished because I've gotten a 0 and I have no other numbers that I need to pull down. So my answer is 3,688. If you remember back at the beginning, it asked me to estimate, and my estimate was 3,500, and my quotient or answer is 3,688. So I can say that they are close. So I know that my answer makes sense. So now what I want you to do is I want you to pause the video. Wait, let me take that back. Don't pause it yet. Listen to your instructions. Now what I want you to do is skip over example 2 because it's basically the same thing. You would set it up the same way. You would do your estimate, you would make your algorithm, you would make your chart. But there's no reason to do that right now. What I want you to do is I want you to go on and I want you to do numbers 2 and 4 in the exercises. So do number 2, and they want you to estimate first, and then they want you to do the long division algorithm, and then I want you to do number 4. So go ahead and pause the video. You can work those out with a partner if you'd like, and then I want you to come back and check your work. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and check your answers. So for number 2, the first thing you were supposed to do was estimate. So you should have set up your problem, and then you can estimate that 33 was close to 30, and 281,886 is close to 270,000. I know that there are 9,000 of those 30s in 270,000. Then I went ahead and set up my T-chart for 33 because 33 was my divisor. And when I worked it all out, my quotient became 8,542. So make sure that you're checking all of your math closely. Take a minute. And then you can compare your estimate to your quotient and you can see that they're fairly close. If you need to pause the video here to check your math, that's fine. If you did not get the division algorithm correct, I want you to go back and practice number 1, or I want you to go on to number 3 and work out number 3 and then bring me your work. Remember, it only hurts you if you're not honest about the work that you need to practice on. Let's go on to number 4 and check this work. For your estimate, you could have rounded 112 to 100 and 952,488 to a million. And I know that there are 10,000 100s in a million. So my estimate was 10,000. For my division algorithm, the first thing I did was set up my T-chart for my divisor, which was 112. And I had to get out my calculator once I got past that 7. It took me a little bit longer, so I just went ahead and got out my calculator. When I divide 952,448 by 112, I get the answer 8,504. So I can see that my quotient is close to my estimate. Again, if you would like to pause the video here so that you can double check your math, make sure that it's all correct, because practice makes perfect. If you practice it incorrectly, you will continue to work it incorrectly as you go on. If you missed the algorithm portion of number 4, then I would like for you to go on and attempt number 5 and then have me check your work. If you got both 2 and 4 correct, then you are ready to move on to your exit ticket, as well as additional practice in your problem set. You will be doing 1, 2, 11, 13, 15, and 16. These will take you a little bit longer to do than other problem sets that we've had in the past, but it's very important that we get this long division down so that we can move on to dividing with decimals. If you have any questions, just let me know.